Would you risk your pension to correct one line in a court docket? At 2:17 a.m., a timestamp changed and a clerk's career vanished. They called it routine maintenance, she called it the footprint of an edit. And before anyone could speak, a sealed evidence envelope decided her fate. Stay with me until the very end, and don't forget to tap like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. What follows puts power on trial. Expect a midnight timestamp, a missing hearing docket, and a transcript page nobody wanted to read. In Detroit's Wayne County Circuit Court, fluorescent light hummed above counters labeled records, filings, and public access. Miriam Cross, a senior court clerk with 23 years, wore her navy cardigan like armor. Her job: shepherd dockets, scan transcripts, log evidence envelopes, and keep the courthouse calendar honest. When an attorney complained a plea hearing vanished from the public portal, Miriam checked the internal queue. The digital log showed activity at 2:17 a.m., hours before the building opened. She felt the floor tilt. The IT memo that morning was crisp: overnight maintenance completed. Index rebuild successful. But the attorney's file, People vs. El Darrow, behaved wrong. Clicking hearing docket returned no results. Miriam tried the secure console. Inside the archive, a ghost entry flickered, then disappeared. She printed a screen grab, timeboxed it with her ballpoint, and slid it into a red file jacket. Around her, clerks hustled, printers rattled, the courthouse orchestra played on. Her supervisor, David Kenner, stopped by, eyes tired. "You again, Miriam? Let IT handle it." Kenner's tone signaled trouble. He was the sort who managed by distance, never touch what might smudge. "Chain of custody is an IT matter now," he said, glancing at her printout. "Your records, not forensics." But Miriam's role included manual cross-checks, paper to portal, docket to transcript. The rules were laminated by the badge reader: clerk verifies schedule entries daily. She found a paper docket from the previous afternoon that showed Darrow's plea scheduled for 9 a.m. So why did the portal show nothing? At lunch, Miriam sat by the stairwell window and called the court reporter. "Denise, did you file a preliminary transcript for Darrow?" A low sigh: "I uploaded a placeholder last night, per policy." Then I saw a lock icon. New to me. Miriam jotted, "Lock icon, placeholder timestamp." She felt a familiar knot, the one that forms when truth is almost visible. Back at her desk, she found a sealed evidence envelope logged to the same case, stamped received at 4:12 p.m. yesterday. The receipt line felt important. The afternoon brought a complaint to administration. A public defender claimed the docket's disappearance prejudiced a client. A deputy from court security stepped into records. "Cross? We need your badge for a minute." "Protocol," he said. "Routine. But badges are identity, taking one implies suspicion." Miriam handed it over and watched the green light on the wall reader turn indifferent when she tried to re-enter the archive room. Someone had flipped her permissions. And then the copier stopped humming at 2:17 a.m. Across the building, Assistant Court Administrator Lillian Pace convened a quick meeting: IT, security, records. Miriam waited in a chair outside, the red jacket on her lap like a fire extinguisher she wasn't allowed to use. A junior clerk, Sonia Patel, leaned close. "I was on early duty." The portal flickered. "But don't quote me." In the hallway glass, Miriam watched herself, 50-something, steady posture, eyes that had learned to read margins. She'd built her life on accuracy. Accusation felt like a translation error. IT's representative, a contractor named Rick, spoke in acronyms. Nightly ETL. Queue compaction. Index rebuild. No manual edits. Lillian Pace translated for the record: system reports no anomalies. Miriam slid in her screen grab. The anomaly is right here. Internal archive shows an edit at 2:17 a.m. And the paper docket shows a scheduled plea. Those two cannot both be true. Pace frowned. "We'll review." Meanwhile, Miriam, step away from Darrow-related tasks. The pause after meanwhile held the weight of a presumption. Rumors travel in courthouses faster than elevators. Someone said Miriam leaked something last year, someone else said she flagged a judge's double-booked calendar and annoyed him. In records, silence sharpened. Miriam checked the evidence envelope log, manually written receipts in ink. Entry, EE #19-447B, People vs. Darrow, received from Detective Hanks, 1612, logged by Cross. The chain of custody was clean. She traced the line, imagining hands, faces, and a hallway clock. Proof lives in the ordinary. Today, the ordinary hid. By afternoon's end, the public portal displayed a new message, docket temporarily unavailable due to maintenance. That phrasing, temporarily, often meant indefinitely. A legal blogger tweeted a screenshot. By evening, the story developed teeth. Miriam's phone vibrated with a text from reunion rep, "Sit tight. Don't give statements. You're not the problem." Yet her badge access remained suspended. As she left, she glanced at security's monitor wall. In the corner, a paused frame showed 2:17 a.m., a black screen, then an icon blinking awake. Morning headlines soften nothing, court docket vanishes, defense cries foul. In administration, Lillian Pace shifted to compliance language. Pending review of alleged data irregularities, Clerk Cross is reassigned. Reassigned meant an empty desk in the basement, next to discarded binders. Kenner came by with a box. "I didn't make the call," he said, not meeting her eyes. Miriam looked at the laminated policy again. It still said, "Clerk verifies schedule entries daily." She whispered to no one, "I did." Downstairs, the basement smelled like dust and toner, a sanctuary for forgotten truths. Miriam booted an old terminal and opened an offline copy of the audit log, a thing she maintained from habit. There it was, a delta at 2 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds, tagged system_service. But on her personal time ledger, handwritten, she had annotated every maintenance window for 5 years. None had started at 2:17 a.m. A new thought arrived, precise and icy: if system didn't do it, someone did, under system's name. The rule he invoked became the proof of his lie. The rule? After-hours edits required dual authorization, one IT keycard, one administrator keycard, documented on a hearing docket variance form. It's the check that keeps the night honest. Miriam pulled a binder labeled DDF's hearing variance. A gap yawned between pages, numbers 3128 and 3130. Form 3129, yesterday's, was missing. She logged the gap in a memo to the union rep, DDF number 3129 absent, 2:17 a.m. Delta correlates. Words like correlates had kept her employed, today it would need to keep her free. Sonia visited the basement, a contraband coffee in hand. "You didn't hear it from me, but security pulled the badge logs. 2 entries for admin at 2:14 a.m., then nothing. As if the system blinked." Miriam closed her eyes to picture it, a swipe, a green light, a pause, and then a digital yawn. "Who?" Sonia shrugged. "Name scrubbed. Only shows admin, but I heard Rick mention a temp badge." Miriam's pen stopped. Temp badges don't belong in after-hours edits. They belong to people who want shadows. By afternoon, Kenner called. "Miriam, bring any Darrow paperwork upstairs." She walked through security, hands visible, chin up. She handed over the red jacket, but a photocopy of her screen grab stayed tucked in her pocket. In Kenner's office sat Rick from IT and an assistant prosecutor, Mara Blaine. Blaine spoke first. "We're concerned about the chain of custody. The evidence envelope now shows an alteration." Miriam's breath thinned. "I logged that envelope. Show me the alteration." Blaine slid a photo, the seal's initial looked retouched. "Did you handle the envelope after 4:12 p.m.? Blaine asked. "Only to log it," Miriam answered. Rick tapped his tablet. "Audit shows a relabel at 2:19 a.m. Could be a misindex." Miriam leaned forward. 2:19, 2 minutes after the docket delta. Why would an envelope relabel occur when the building is closed? Silence stretched. Kenner stared at the carpet. Blaine pursed her lips, then, "We'll pull the video." Miriam stood. "Please do." She had never been in trouble. The room made trouble feel like the weather. That evening, the union rep, Jared Vance, met Miriam at a diner on Gresham. He listened without interrupting, then slid a legal pad across. Write down everything you saw, smelled, heard. Sensory anchors help juries and administrators alike. She wrote, the air felt drier near the archive cage, the copier hum paused at 2:17, the red pilot light on the badge reader blinked twice, not once. Jared nodded. Pattern plus detail equals credibility. Stay measured. We'll request the hearing docket, the badge logs, and system transcripts. The next day, Miriam received an email, administrative interview mandatory. In a windowless room, Lillian Pace asked monotone questions. Have you ever altered a docket? No. Have you shared credentials? No. Do you know why your badge was flagged? No. The recorder clicked. Everything in that room was the word alleged. Outside, Sonia waited. Someone said Darrow's plea would expose a procurement deal. City contracts. Big ones. Miriam felt the story broadened. Files are never about files, they are about consequences. One detail was always there, buried in plain sight. Miriam revisited the paper docket drawer. The Darrow hearing docket, yesterday's schedule, was misfiled under miscellaneous. That never happens by accident. She scanned its footer, the preparation code traced to Assistant Administrator Glenn Morrell, a name with tenure in Friends. She remembered an old memo, overarching calendar admin authority resides with Glenn Morrell after hours. She underlined after hours. When she turned, Glenn himself stood in the doorway, smiling without warmth. You're working hard on nothing, cross. Morrell leaned on the frame. The result doesn't change, maintenance occurred, a glitch erased an entry, and IT fixed it. His voice was the kind that practiced being native to rooms where decisions finalize. Put your head down. The system keeps moving. Miriam looked at his shoes, polished to reflect ceiling panels. The system moved at 2:17 a.m., Glenn. That's the problem. He shrugged. Get some rest. When he left, she wrote, he wants me tired. Tired people misremember. Jared filed a formal request for 3 items, the hearing docket variance form number 3129, the evidence envelope chain of custody photo and native resolution, and a transcript page from the administrative interview verbatim. By policy, the court had 72 hours to respond. But within hours, a memo arrived. Due to ongoing review, materials are sealed. Sealed against the clerk accused. Jared exhaled. They just strengthened our appeal. The same rule invoked to seal is also the rule requiring 2 key authorization logs. We'll get them. And then the meeting room fell silent. Miriam returned to her offline audit habit. She printed the maintenance windows from the last 2 years and highlighted every start time. None began at 2:17. Most at 3 o'clock or 3:30. She pinned them with binder clips. Patterns soothe panic. Then, a quiet knock. Denise, the court reporter, and stepped in. I brought something. She slid a USB drive wrapped in a sticky note. My placeholder transcript metadata. It records who locks a file. Denise's hand shook. It might cost me my job. Miriam squeezed it. Or save it. In a borrowed conference room, Jared plugged the drive into a clean laptop. The metadata file opened like a lined field after snow, clear tracks. At 2:16 and 43 seconds a.m., user ID Amorel queried the Darrow transcript placeholder. At 2 hours 17 minutes and 4 seconds, the placeholder locked. At 2 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds, the docket index was rebuilt. Jared whistled low. We have our first nail. Miriam felt no victory, only a colder calm. He'll say someone spoofed him. Jared nodded. Which is why we need a second proof, physical, not digital. Sonia's text arrived late. Security is talking about a temp badge printed yesterday. Jared looked up. Temp badges leave paper trails, print requests and handoff signatures. They walked to security's glass booth. A guard named Lane glanced at Jared's union pin and chose candor. A temp admin badge was printed at 1:49 a.m., signed out by night admin. Glenn was on call. Lane slid a carbon copy log across the counter for 3 seconds. Long enough for Miriam's eyes to memorize numbers. The air conditioner click was louder than any voice in the room. With the temp badge log number burned into memory, Miriam returned to the basement and pulled a dusty policy binder. Temp badge procedure, 2 signatures required. If the second signature was missing, someone had cut a corner big enough to drive the motive through. Jared drafted an affidavit, Denise prepared a statement about the lock event. For the first time all week, Miriam exhaled and allowed a small win. The building's old vent clicked, and in the quiet between sounds, she heard her resolve set. Artifact number 1 payoff evidence envelope. Jared secured a court order narrowly to view the original evidence envelope under supervision. The seal's retouched initial glow glowed under oblique light. But here was the tell, the heat stamp on the edge had a micronumber only the evidence room uses. It was correct for yesterday. The photo shown to Miriam had a different micronumber, swapped. The original chain of custody log matched Miriam's handwriting, time 1612, and a guard's counter-signature. They photographed a substitute, Jared said, and hoped no one would check. Denise, now fully committed, urged caution. People like Morel don't move alone. She recounted a hallway conversation weeks ago, Glenn joking about keeping dockets skinny when contracts are fat. Miriam pictured procurement brochures in the lobby, vendors in suits. She thought of the defense attorney's complaint, how an invisible hearing could keep a plea from triggering disclosures. Jared took notes, motive, suppress plea to protect procurement deal exposure. Denise touched Miriam's sleeve. Truth needs stamina, not speed. Artifact number 2 reveal, hearing docket. Sonia surfaced a thin paper nobody wanted found, a misfiled hearing docket variant stub, torn where a duplicate should have remained. Number 3129 faintly visible under smudge. The stub listed 9 a.m. for Darrow, Judge Hanley's courtroom, plea hearing per agreement. It lacked the 2 required signatures. Only one, G. Morel. The fresh tear line suggested removal after creation. Jared photographed it with a timestamped app in one continuous take. They'll argue it's incomplete, he said. But incomplete proves the point. Miriam visited Darrow's public defender, a woman named Karina Sutter. In a cramped office, Karina's wall held photos of clients with second chances. The plea had a condition, Karina said. If entered, the city would have to release emails about a procurement bundle Darrow touched as a contractor. Those emails would embarrass powerful people. She paused. My client isn't innocent, but the process must be. Miriam felt both relief and sorrow. The file was about justice, yes, but also about people who survive it. The administration's revised memo arrived. Clerk Cross remains reassigned pending a formal hearing. The date, 2 weeks out. Jared read between the lines. They're dragging it. He proposed something bolder, request a public records hearing in open session. Michigan law allowed it if both parties agreed. Force daylight, he said. Miriam swallowed. They will hate it. Jared smiled. Daylight is an antiseptic you don't need permission to apply. The request went in, and for a second, the building felt new. The printer spat out page 44, the one they deleted. The court's lawyer tried to block the open session. Jared cited the policy requiring transparency when employee actions intersect with public record integrity. The judge assigned, a pragmatist named Keating, agreed to partial openness, exhibits viewable, personnel matters sealed. Jared accepted, it was enough. During discovery, IT dumped system logs, thousands of lines. Buried among them was a reference to a print job at 2:21 a.m., labeled DDF 3129, page 44. The job had been cancelled. But spooled pages sometimes linger. Rick, sensing the tide, softened. Sometimes the old printer keeps a cache. He led Jared and Miriam to a maintenance closet where a forgotten HP rested, lights dead but memory intact. Rick hesitated, then pulled a panel. A technician page listed the last 10 job IDs. There it was, DVF_3129_P44, Jared's eyebrows climbed. Can you resurrect it? Rick shrugged. If nobody notices. He slotted in a maintenance USB, muttered commands, and the printer stuttered. It coughed out a single gray page, page 44, variance rules on signatures. Artifact number 3 payoff, transcript page. In the administrative interview transcript, finally released, page 6 showed Lillian Pace asking, who approved the after-hours entry, and Glenn answering, per standard, dual authorization, mine and IT's. But a later transcript page, page 12, held a slip, Glenn, I printed the DVF to sign, just me, before the system crashed. The contradiction was inked. Transcript pages are stubborn, they don't forget. Jared circled the lines. We have the tie. The rule he invoked became the rope. Glenn arrived at the pre-hearing conference with a lawyer whose suit said billable hours. He didn't look at Miriam. The judge set ground rules. We are here to consider whether administrative actions compromised a public record and whether disciplinary actions against Ms. Crosses were justified. The courtroom had that polite hush of big stakes wearing small clothes. Jared laid out the timeline, 2 hours 16 minutes and 43 seconds inquiry, 2 hours 17 minutes and 4 seconds lock, 2 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds delta, 2:19 relabel, 2:21 print cancel. Glenn's counsel called it contextless data. Jared lifted the evidence envelope under a camera. The judge leaned forward. Explain the micronumber discrepancy. The custodial sergeant testified, micronumber corresponds to the date in batch. The photo shown previously doesn't match yesterday's micronumber. Glenn's lawyer objected, chain issues. The sergeant remained stone, I carried it myself from the evidence room to records. Cross-logged it, we both signed. Miriam, called to the stand, spoke evenly. The ordinary is where truth lives. A few pens in the gallery stopped moving. Glenn took the stand and performed confidence. At 2:17, routine maintenance was initiated, as scheduled. Jared held up the maintenance history chart. Show me one other instance starting at 2:17. Glenn's mouth opened, closed. He tried a new angle. If there was a lock, IT did it. Rick, summoned reluctantly, testified, the system shows user Amorel initiating the lock. Could be spoofed, but the temp badge log and the printer cache suggest physical presence. Glenn's jaw tightened, his lawyer reached for water. Every screen froze at once, the audit is now public. During a recess, the judge requested an on-record demonstration. IT mirrored the audit trail to the courtroom screen. When the Delta entry flashed, the displays briefly froze, old software buckling under scrutiny, then resumed with the cursor hovering over restore. The gallery inhaled. Jared spoke softly, Your Honor, we request a provisional restoration of the Darrow docket entry for public verification. The judge nodded. Do it. The entry returned, tagged restored per court order. A small word, restored Miriam, too. Outside, local reporters gathered. Are you cleared? One asked Miriam. She answered in official caution, the record is being restored. The process continues. Inside, an assistant prosecutor worried about the procurement exposure. Denise, walking by, murmured, let the documents speak, they've waited long enough. The union sent an email blast to clerks across the state, audit logs are employees' friends, keep your own copy. For once, the message was not a warning but a call to practice courage. Back in session, Karina Sutter, the public defender, addressed the court. My client's plea shouldn't be a pawn in a procurement drama. We ask that the original schedule be honored and disclosures made. The judge scheduled the plea for the next morning, on the record. Glenn's lawyer whispered ferociously, Glenn stared at the table. Miriam sat with folded hands, feeling her pulse slow. The building's air had changed, like a front had passed and left a clearer light. Later, Jared found Miriam by the back stairwell. Win or lose the politics, you've already won the truth, he said. She nodded. Truth is a thin blanket, it doesn't cover everything. But it's warm. Jared smiled. You're going to get your name cleared. Maybe more. She thought of pensions and health insurance and the quiet dignity of returning a badge to the reader and hearing that soft affirmative beep. She imagined the beep as an apology. Outside, sirens rose. Inside, a cursor hovered over restore. The next day's hearing doubled as Miriam's redemption arc. The judge opened. "We will address two matters, Mr. Darrow's plea and Ms. Cross's status." First, the plea. Darrow answered questions, voice shaky but resolute, and the court accepted the agreement. The judge ordered the city to release procurement-related emails under the plea's terms. Second, Miriam. Jared presented the artifacts as a triad: evidence envelope authenticity, hearing docket stub with missing second signature, and the damning transcript page contradiction. The room listened. The court's HR director rose with a prepared statement, already on letterhead. Effective immediately, the reassignment of Ms. Miriam Cross is vacated. The court regrets the distress caused and is committed to reviewing after-hours access protocols. Regret is not the same as apology, but it's the throat clearing before it. The judge added, "The record will reflect Ms. Cross acted within policy and aided in the restoration of a public record." In the gallery, Denise's eyes shone. Sonia mouthed, "Finally." What institutions fear more than guilt is precedent. The court announced a policy overhaul: no temp badges for administrative edits, dual auth must be verified by two distinct departments, maintenance windows standardized to half-hour increments starting on the hour. An independent audit of procurement calendars would cross-reference docket changes. Jared leaned over to Miriam. "Quiet victories reshape tomorrow's paperwork." She laughed softly. "Tomorrow's paperwork is how yesterday stops repeating itself." Glenn's consequences arrived in stiff envelopes. Administrative leave pending outcome. An internal investigation began to map relationships, vendors, dinners, emails. In whispers, people said he'd been promised a soft landing elsewhere. But systems, once startled awake, keep one eye open. Rick, the IT contractor, delivered a final report that surprised everyone. He recommended permanent hiring of internal audit roles trained in both clerical and technical processes. Hybrid eyes, he called them. Miriam thought, they could have asked us years ago. In a small conference room, Lillian Pace met Miriam and Jared. On the table lay a letter with the court seal. Lillian read, "Ms. Cross, the court formally apologizes for actions taken that implied wrongdoing on your part. Your record is cleared. A commendation will be placed in your file for demonstrating commitment to the integrity of the court's records." Miriam's throat tightened. The word she waited for finally stood without qualifiers: apologizes. Lillian slid over a reinstated ID badge. "Welcome back." Miriam walked alone to the archive room. The badge reader glowed a patient green. She held the card, inhaled, and tapped. The door clicked open with that soft electric sigh she'd missed. Inside, shelves of case files stood like pews. She rested a hand on the evidence logbook, then on the old printer that had coughed up page 44. She whispered, "Thank you, to no one and to everything." Redemption is never loud, it writes in margins, then waits to be found. Sonia and Denise joined her for coffee by the window that looked over the parking lot. They spoke of ordinary things: the schedule, the weather, the way the light found the floor at 4 p.m. Jared texted, "Press asking for a quote." Miriam typed back, "The record is the quote." A quiet settlement that didn't need filling. Outside, a patrol car rolled by slowly. Inside, someone laughed in a distant hallway. The building had exhaled. The ordinary sounded holy again. Weeks later, procurement emails began to surface, boring and damning in equal measure. A vendor party here, a nudge there. Nothing cinematic, everything corrosive. The Darrow case became a footnote in an oversight report about calendar manipulations. Miriam's name appeared once. Clerk Cross assisted in restoring the docket and identifying protocol failures. She clipped it for her scrapbook. At home, she set it beside a photo of her first day at the courthouse, decades ago. The same woman. The steadier truth. Miriam's lesson clarified the way lessons do, by living through them. She spoke at a regional clerk's training: keep an offline log. Learn the part of the system you don't own. When policy leans against you, read it back to itself. And remember, the humble artifacts and evidence envelope, a hearing docket stub, a transcript page are not paper, they're witnesses. Protect them, and they will protect you. The room, full of tired professionals, straightened a little. In the archive room at closing, a single desk lamp glowed over the hearing docket binder, the evidence envelope logbook, and a framed transcript page excerpt that read, "Dual authorization required." The camera lingers on Miriam's badge tapping green, one last time, as if the door itself is relieved to recognize her. Justice isn't applause, it's the quiet return of the ordinary after a storm. This story is inspired by true events. Names and details have been changed to protect privacy. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, subscribe to this channel and never miss the next case where truth prevails.